Previously, upon receipt of queries from the minister, you'd agree that you'd responded to his requests for information or updates. Is that so?
Sorry, Councillor, I didn't get the question.
Previously, when you would receive requests for information concerning the Mabhida murder from the minister, you'd agree that you would respond and provide an update or information. Is that?
That is correct, Councillor. From the last brief I had given the Commissioner of the possible link of the suspects and that we did eventually link them, there was nothing more I knew about the case. Hence, I needed to establish from the investigator if there, what other development. You know, sometimes, for example, you may find that the investigator will tell you, okay, the following evidence was analyzed and the following suspect was linked, the firearm belongs to somebody, they acquired the firearm from whom, which other murders they're linked to. So I didn't have anything more than what I had on the previous occasion. So I inquired with the investigator if there's any developments that that's taken place so that I could appraise the minister. And so
your decision to reach out to the investigating officer in respect of this murder was because at that point you had no further updates to provide the minister?
That is correct, Chairperson. Chairperson, I must also add that in as much as no matter which unit is investigating a murder or any crime, if a citizen or a community member in my district has suffered a trauma or a crime, I have a responsibility to make contact with the various teams to see where they are with matters and how I could assist them, because sometimes logistically we support certain operations in the area. So it is the community that will ask me the question, what am I doing about this and what am I doing about that? So I usually try to keep abreast, but there are some sensitive units that we do not get the full explanations of the stages of investigation or where they are. For example, DPCI, political task teams sometimes will withhold certain parts of the investigation so that they don't compromise the investigations. But we do interact with them.
And General, still discussing the contents of paragraph 19, there you indicate that the investigating officer explained that he would update the provincial commissioner who would then update the minister. Is that the ordinary protocol that is followed? Is that the procedure that must be followed in this context, or was that something unique to the circumstance?
Chair, usually when it comes to political principles, unless we're in an imbizo and we are together somewhere as part of a community outreach program, there will be that interaction with politicians. Other than that, when it comes to the normal protocol of chain of command, politicians will talk to our principals, and same way if you go to just take a local level, you will find that the mayor will communicate with the station commander because that's the level on which they are in the local area. In myself, I have lots of interaction with the district mayor because I'm a district commissioner. So I have a lot of interaction with the district mayor and the mayors because in terms of the levels that we are on protocols, I'm allowed to do that interaction. But when it comes to MECs, comes to ministers, that protocol lies at the instance of the provincial commissioner or the national commissioner, that is depending on what it is. But mine is limited as a district commissioner to district mayor, local mayors. That's my level of protocol that I can engage and interact with.
Thank you, General. You indicated in the course of going through your statement that this was the first time that a minister had contacted you.
That is correct, Chair.
In particular concerning the murder, for example, of a councillor, of a ward councillor.
That is correct, Chair.
100%. And you also now explained that in ordinary circumstances, politicians would typically talk to your principal, would talk to your superior.
That's correct, Chair.
So in this context, was it appropriate for the minister to reach out to you seeking information concerning the murder of Councillor Mabhida, in your opinion?
Chair, from my protocol training, it is not appropriate. But I can't say from Minister Mkunu's protocol, as a politician, what training they receive and how to communicate and with whom and to what boundaries they cross and allowed to cross. But purely from my training and my 35 years of historical, institutionalized protocol, it is not normal and it is not in accordance with our protocol for me to interact with the minister without the specific direction of my principal.
And if you are able to, General, could you comment on why that is perhaps not normal, or why that would go against your training? For example, what is attempted to be prevented in context where a minister directly engages an officer of your station?
Chair, this comes out of experience, my own personal experience in the history that I've served the organization. In any province, the provincial government interacts completely with the provincial commissioner. In fact, the provincial commissioner exercises and invokes his authority in the province in consultation with the executive of that particular province. When a minister interacts with a national commissioner, it is fine. When he interacts with the provincial commissioner, it is also fine. But the provincial commissioner is better positioned to understand what and how to answer a national minister who is asking about a province to which the provincial commissioner is serving under the leadership of the provincial executive, in this instance the Premier, and his cabinet. So yes, he will be better positioned to be able to understand a better picture of what responses is better suited to the minister.
Can I just clarify something? General, did the minister say in what capacity he's communicating with you? And the reason I'm asking that is I see that on the 15th, he attended the funeral of Councillor Mabhida. They could have been related, they could have been members of the same political party, so it does not necessarily follow that when the minister makes inquiries, he's making them in his capacity as a minister. It could have been as a political colleague, as a relative, or as somebody who's from the same Ilembe district. In what capacity did the minister communicate to you and ask you these questions?
Chair, I did not get that from the minister, and I did not ask him in what capacity. Mine, I took it just as a minister, because the only relationship I would have had with him was, now that he's calling me, is as a minister, nothing more than that. So he didn't tell me I'm calling because I'm a relative, or I didn't have that indication, Chair.
Because let me give you an example. As I'm sitting here, I'm a commissioner. But outside of this commission, I'm an ordinary citizen. And if I go to a police station or I contact a station commander and I inquire about an existing case, there are lines to be drawn. You can't assume I'm doing that because I'm a commissioner at the Matlanga Commission. I could be doing it as an ordinary citizen or as somebody who lives in a particular area who's interested in what's going on with a particular criminal case.
Commissioner, that's why earlier on I said that later on I could only summarize that the interest could have been because the Councillor Mabhida was from the ANC. So it's possible that it's because he's a comrade, because he's a relative, but I didn't get that clear from the minister as to what was his specific relationship, whether it was just fulfilling an office duty as an office bearer of the ANC or as a minister or as a relative. I didn't pick that up in my interaction as to what would be the reason specifically. It might have been that, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. General, that then brings us to the end of your paragraph 19.
Ms. Mataseri, let me then ask my question if you're completing that section. General, we've had the minister testify here before, and in the context of the political killings task team, his stated position is that there's no hierarchy of murders. Murder is murder, and there's no reason to have a specialized team or a special team, task team investigating political killings. Now, has the minister, and that's the context of my question, keep that in mind, has the minister called you about any other killing that falls within your jurisdiction?
No, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.